Hi guys, I'm just sitting here eating some breakfast and I thought I could share some info on Cerebral and how it works in a larger application. So this is the project I'm working on. It's running completely on Cerebral. The only specific to the project is actually this video and audio thing down here. But the project is about learning code, and it's about lowering the threshold from learning to exploring. So if I play this course now, you will actually see Cerebral replay the interactions of the recording. And I can pause this at any time, and I can change it around. And when I hit play again, it will just go back to where the recording left off. So this is what I'm talking about, learning and having a low threshold for exploring, which I think is really important when you want to learn code. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about the project. I'm going to talk about code. So let's jump into some code here. So this is the project structure. I'm not going to talk about all of it, but we have an app folder here. And this app folder has the, by convention, the controller.js file. So let's take a look at that. And this file expresses all the state of the application. So all the state that this application can have, or the structure of it, is inside this file. So it's a really nice way to get an overview of what states can this application be in, and what kind of state can it change. And then we have just a couple of services. We have to talk to the server, so we just have an AJAX service, and we also have this get iframe position. So we have this, we need to point to the browser and get some information on the iframe, and we have that as a service because if we we don't have any tests actually. But we should have, and if we were to write those tests, it would be easy to mock out this service. So what happens is that in the main file we import the controller, and then we import some signals. And the thing is that we have this modules folder, so we have different modules, and each of those has defined its signals. So you just bring those definitions in. And then we have a couple of actions that are like general for the whole application. And one of them is like the snack bar down on the left. I don't know if you noticed it. It's just a signal for hiding that snack bar. And then we have a signal for any routes that are wrong. And then we register these signals for each module. And then we have our router. So it's just normal, like we have route definitions, and then we point to a signal it's supposed to fire off. So let's look into one of these modules. Let's look into the really big one, course. And as we can see in the folder structure here, we have actions, we have chains, we only have one chain, and we have our components, and we have actually some computed state, and then we have the signals, quite a bit of signals, and then we have the main course component, and we have the signals file. Now we also have a common folder, so we have some common actions and components and factories and some CSS. So for example, in factories here we can see that okay, we have like a get factory, so that we don't have to create an action for everything we want to get from the server. We just use the get factory, and we have it for set page, also condition is one of them. So those are general actions. But let's move back to our course here. So in signals we import lots of stuff, and we basically import all the signals, and we also have some factories. And this is where we actually define all the signals. Now the thing is that this is like a manifest of what state changes can the course actually do. So you can just read down here and you can see everything the course is able to do. And that is a really powerful concept. It's a lot easier to read this than if you would have to jump into all the components to figure out what state changes it was able to do. And normally we create a signal by just pointing to a chain, but we have this kind of cool concept of logging, so we can track user interaction. So what we do is that we create a session when the course is open, and we do some authentication on it, and then we can just track whatever signals we want. So whenever the user triggers one of these signals, we track it, pass some data to the server, and we actually have this timeline showing what signals has been triggered when, which gives us really great insight into how users has been using our application. So those are the signals. So let's check out one of the more complex signals here. So for example, course opened. So we import whatever actions we need, and this is what actually happens when we open up a course. And the thing is that when I say open a course, you instantly imagine, okay, you have to do an AJAX request, it's either a success or an error, and but that's never true really. When you start to get to a certain level of complexity, there's so much stuff you have to do. So in this case, of course, we want to set the page to be the course page, and that loads up the component. But then we have to check if are we still on the same course, because you can change scenes on a course, and by changing a scene, we trigger the same signal, because you can go instantly to a specific scene by a URL. So we have to open the course whenever you change the scene, but we want to know if it's the scene on the same course or a different course. So if it is the same course, we want to show the snack bar. We hide the scenes list in case you were choosing a scene from the dropdown, and then we load up the scene. And then we have then we check if the scene actually did load. It might have given an error, and if it did actually load, we set the scene and then we save our sandbox, and then we show the snack bar. If it didn't load correctly, we show the snack bar. And then if it's not the same course, we just have to do more stuff. So we set the default course state, we set the set loading course. Oh, I think this is a duplicate. I should probably be able to remove this one. As you see, we are using factories instead, just to not have to creating actions all the time. They're just as expressive as the action itself, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, then we load the course and the scene, and then we verify that we actually were able to load both the course and the scene, because we need both of them to continue. And if both of them were loaded, you can see here we reuse the set scene, we reuse save sandbox chain, and if it's something wrong, we just indicate an error. So the thing is that maybe we could have more logic in how we would return from errors, but at least we give a message, which often we do not do. We just forget about all these errors. But we feel forced to do it because we so explicitly express what is happening inside our application. So it would just feel wrong if we did this, for example. It needs to have a false output. Okay, so that's one signal. Maybe we can look at something else. Play clicked, for example. We are seeking the recording, then we are setting the current seek, we play the recording. Maybe we can take a look at that. We have where is it? Play recording. And here we can see how we use the recorder. So we basically we have already loaded up the recording. So what we do is we change some state and then we just play the recording. It's kind of nice, really. And I don't know, what else should we look at? And then we have our components. The way I structure them is like we have the main components, and then we have subfolders for any components like children of that component. So maybe this is interesting. So this is a pretty complex component. It needs a lot of state. And this is how we grab all of it. And as you can see, we are also grabbing some computed state. The thing is that it would actually make more sense to just bring in the cores here. So we will probably refactor this, because the thing now is that whenever there's a state change, it actually checks all of these different states if they have changed. But usually it will be enough to check the cores. It really depends, and this is hard to do because sometimes there are a lot of different changes to the cores, but we only want to re-render this component on these specific state changes. But if there aren't that many, if these were most of the state changes anyway, then it would be enough to just bring in the cores. And this is something you just have to balance. So we have lots of different state in the cores, but I think actually it wouldn't matter if we just brought in the cores here and just grabbed data from there. But okay, so there you see that you can have lots of state brought into your component, and there's nothing special here really. We just trigger different signals and do the component react thing. This has actually gotten pretty large. We should probably split this up a bit, but this is also like the balance of, I like to go into the toolbar file and actually look at all the stuff in the toolbar. But yeah, we could probably clean this up a bit. Maybe we should look at the computed stuff. So we want to have a sense of the current scene, and the current scene is based on the current scene index, and we just grab the scene from the scenes state, and then we just return that. So it's a very simple computed function, but that's typically how you would use it. Okay, I don't know if I want to show you anything else there. Maybe no. I think this is okay. I hope this gave you some insight. Like, there are lots of files here, but they are really easy to test. And you have these main files, like signals gives you the overview of how you make state changes inside your application. And our controller gives an overview of all the state that is in the application. So if you check these two files first, then you will have a really great overview of how this application works. Okay, cool. Thanks for listening, and I hope this gave you something. I'll have to finish my breakfast, and I'll talk to you later.